The following is a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. Hollywood Redefined. From Los Angeles, California, streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is Black Hollywood Live, the Black Tea Party, featuring weekly discussions on political news and current affairs. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood Redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host of Black Hollywood Live, the Black Tea Party.
I missed that song.
Back. Welcome back, Stacey.
Thank you guys. I missed you guys.
What's up, y'all? It's Anthony Martin, and this is Black Hollywood Live Black Tea Party. Today we jumping into some real good topics. Let's start with the panel to my left. What's up, Stacey?
What's up? Good to see you guys. I have my phone ready to go, so make sure you tweet me live at OneTakeStace. And go ahead, Shirley. What's up with you?
Hey, everybody. LA, West Coast. Straight out of Compton. Shout out to all my boys who did an amazing movie. Make sure you guys see that.
Yeah.
Shirley Husar, Husar. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat. You know what you need to do.
Okay, all right. Get real with it. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, I just realized you were like, yeah, it came out yesterday for Straight Outta Compton, and I was thinking the 14th was next week, so I'm just a week off. That's my week, guys.
Mike.
It's a weird week.
Yeah,
all right, guys,
we need to get
spelled
that
on the name
together.
at Michael Timon.
Well, speaking of Straight Outta Compton, that movie is very relevant to our first topic today. Last week on Sunday was the anniversary of Mike Brown's killing. He was a young African-American man in St. Louis, Missouri, my hometown, and he was gunned down unarmed by a police officer, in quotations, a white police officer. Started a crazy amount of just noise coming up, bringing racial tension, bringing animosity against police officers, and it's a year later. I mean, it's a year later, and now we're looking back on it like, okay, that happened. What's going on now as far as the world? I mean, we got Black Lives Matter grassroots organization coming up. We have a lot of political figures speaking out on it or not speaking on it. We have, I mean, the racial tension is kind of crazy, even though that's maybe not the central objective of this issue, but it's big. And then police brutality. I mean, that has been the talk of, I think, every other day of my life since Mike Brown. I mean, we had Trayvon Martin, and I think that was a pivotal moment, but I think what really started this movement was social media, because that was the one, I mean, that was on camera. They saw it. You saw his body laying in the street, blood streaming from his body, right on the floor. I mean, you have people, the video of the interaction. I mean, it was just crazy, and I think that's what started the outburst. But today, I think we really want to get into it. Let's start off by talking about the anniversary in St. Louis, Missouri, as far as what happened, what went down. For all you that don't know, I am a hometown resident of St. Louis, Missouri, so this hits home real hard. But they had peaceful protests, starting Sunday night. It got real ugly again. We started with some gunfire. Another young black man was shot down. He's not dead. He's in critical condition. And then we have the day after, on Monday, more riots spurring from that. So let's talk about that first. What are y'all takes on the anniversary, the protest? How do you think it went? What could have been better? What we got?
Well, can I ask, what did you guys expect would happen on the Sunday? Did you think it was going to be all peaceful? Did you expect riots? Did you expect, what were you thinking would happen on an anniversary like that? That's generally...
I thought what happened was going to happen.
Really?
I mean, you look at the stats. Now they've compiled more stats from the police. From a year from Michael Brown's death until the year after, 1,083 people were killed by the police. Shot by the police. That's not counting police custody deaths. That's not by the way, the worst year in Iraq was 1,012. deaths, which are terrible deaths by soldiers. But our police are killing more citizens than our boys that are in Iraq being shot at.
And that's real
That's
life.
a very
That's
tragic comparison.
it blew my mind when I looked at it, because I was like, what, 1,083? I was like, that's so many people. Like, how are we, like, but how do you keep up? I can't even keep up. Like, every day
I think in that same article that I think you sent it out that said 1,083 said that only 40 maybe police officers have been dealt with or had some type of 40
fired or
1,000.
suspended without suspended without pay. That's it.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, even to think about that, it just bothers me a lot. I think about the relationship that minorities have with police officers, and then these issues coming up. It doesn't make it any better. And one of the problems, I think, like while I was watching the protests and the riot, I guess, or the whatever you want to call it, in St. Louis, and I was thinking something similar to you, Mike. Like, I what happened I thought was going to happen, only because I don't think anything has changed. In my mind, it's only getting worse, and people are only getting more angry. So yes, we're gonna remember Mike for what happened, but at the same time, nothing's good. I think one of the more interesting things that kind of I saw when I was reading some articles is that some people want to have you believe, and I'm not saying it's true or not, but that it's getting better in St. Louis. They have a new police chief. He's black. It's not a mayor, but a city official. He's black. They have black people.
You're talking about the district
But
attorney.
is that what people are looking for a saving grace? Black people to be in power necessarily? Is that the only? That's not.
I'm not gonna lie. I think by pushing that's a big statement. Pushing that, but I think what more or less is interesting about what they were saying is that all these are interim positions. They're temporary, and I think more or less, to me, what that sounds to me is we're just trying to shut you up for the time being so it doesn't get any worse. Because being from St. Louis, I know that people don't go quietly there. They want to see something, and they're going to see it one way or the other. By any means necessary, it's got to happen. And I think they use that tool of those government officials, putting them in those positions and being black, kind of just to quiet them down, saying, look, we are trying to make strides, we are trying to make a change. But in the same time, the mayor during the time of Ferguson is still in office, even though there were attempts to try to get him out of office. He's staying steadfast there. And you could argue that maybe he's trying to do something about it, but at the end of the day, he kind of created the problem in itself. There were so many more things he could have done in that issue that he did not do. And the reason it is as worse as it is, I think, is because of the government officials in Missouri that had those conversations, because they didn't do anything. I think about Governor Jay Nixon. I don't know, he's the governor of Missouri. And just like the statements he makes about a lot of the things that were going on, I just think just anger people even more. Yeah. So just because you put people in positions and you wait a year and all that, nothing's gonna change. I just can't see it. What do you, Stacey? You're from South Central, right?
Stacey or Shirley?
Shirley. Yeah. You're from South Central, right?
Oh yeah.
So you've dealt with similar issues growing up, going on in Los Angeles. So what is your take on that? Because that happened in the 90s, and then you look it up now, has anything gotten better, or has it just got quieter?
I think that if we look at the situation with Darryl Brown, we have a lack of accountability on the federal level, because it's beyond local, state. It's beyond local, it's beyond state, it's now a federal issue. And President Obama has clearly failed this country. We talk about Black Lives Matter, and then we want to protest and antagonize these new candidates that are on platform. You have a president right now who's African American, Why isn't he doing something or had something in place? It's been a whole year now,
But
and obviously
you mean
he
in
has
relation
failed.
to-
Obviously, he has failed by implementing some kind of law or something in place for training or communication building in the communities as well as in the state. The president has just not stepped up to the par. So now you have outbursts, and then you have to bring in National Guards, you have to bring in the SWAT teams and whatever to calm them down. You know, I think one thing that we learned about Ferguson is that it was the first city we were able to see malicious guns and ammunition brought on a small city scale base. We all didn't know about that, and they equipped those people because of 9/11.
Yep.
Your point's
I agree with
very,
you.
very interesting.
100%.
Do you feel, is Obama the only person responsible in terms of like, who else is supposed to be doing something? Is my question to you, because I definitely get where you're coming from.
Well,
but is there somebody
you guys
else?
just addressed all the issues of the chief of police. Nothing's happening. We talked about the local people involved currently. Nothing's happening. The statewide, the governor. We didn't hear anything happen. So now it's up to the Fed level because all these people have intervened, and nothing has happened. Black people keep waiting for Obama to do something. He ain't gonna do nothing for you.
Do you think
He's
it takes
helped
longer?
everybody else.
Do you
He
think
ain't
it
gonna do
takes
nothing
longer for a year than a year though? Do you think?
No.
No.
If you can
I
make
mean, I don't know all the
if you can
laws.
make a decision to go buy new shoes tomorrow, you can buy new shoes tomorrow. You're the president of the United States. You could start implementing or allocating some type of new law. But he has failed the city. He continues to fail our country as far as black people, and we're not holding him accountable.
Okay, so
I think it's hard for me to.
I half
don't know.
agree with
like
that,
I
but-
definitely I see where you're coming from, and I wanna, and I don't know. I've always struggled with that because I try so hard to make sure that when I see Obama, I don't see the president of black people. I see the president of the United States. So I know
The president
that
of the
in
United
some-
States is not addressing the issue of 8.5 million people keep tweeting Black Lives Matter. Excuse me,
Right,
keep
right,
posting on
right,
Facebook
right,
Black
right,
Lives
right.
Matter.
Right.
That's
no.
huge.
I can definitely agree with that. I just always try to make sure that I'm not looking at it in terms of how is he affecting just black people, but. And even now, with the way the new candidates are coming about, and people are saying, well, Bernie Sanders, it talks about black people, so that's where he should be. And Hillary, I'm like, wait, you guys, like, there's so many people in the world. Not that that's a small thing, but.
So
anyway.
let's jump into that since we're talking about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. You being our in-house Republican and you being our in-house Democrat.
In-house. I like that.
I'm an independent.
An in-house.
I'm an
That's
independent.
very.
I'm an independent socialist.
What is your take
Bernie.
on?
Wow, that's a lot.
Since we're talking about like presidents, what are the new presidential candidates saying about this? What do you think? Like Shirley, for example, okay, Barack Obama ain't doing nothing. So who is going to do anything if they become president? Like what Republicans are talking about doing something? What plans have they implemented?
Right.
What have they talked about that said that they're going to be different from Barack Obama when it comes to Black Lives Matter?
Well, I think, first of all, they're not implemented because they're not in office. They're not the president of the United States. And because the issue is so relevant and it's so now that we continue to talk about the future, how many blacks will die before it's addressed? Remember, the election is not until 2016. So, I mean, each candidate, including Bernie and Hillary, it doesn't matter what they say. They're not the chief and commander. And what I'm upset about with Black Lives Matter is that what about the now? We need to be addressing this on a now basis. We can talk hypothetics about candidates and their proposed ideas if we agree or disagree.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be able to come up with true
Well, no, I
answers.
get
But
that, but at the same time, I think on that point, I want the now. I want to see what's happening now, but at the same time, I want you to address it. I want you to say something about it.
Because that's how we know how to
and
vote
that's-
for you.
Yeah, and then that's kind of what I was talking about the Republican debate, is just that in that sense, those are the only candidates I've seen so far on that scale for the 2016 election, but they didn't touch on it. And it bothers me because, like you said, 80 million, what's the number?
8.5.
8.5 million people are tweeting Black Lives Matter. They're talking about it. Why is that not a subject that we are discussing on that platform in any election or any candidacy right now?
Well, there is one candidacy
I feel
talking
like you're
about
about
it, and
to-
it's right here on his website. In case you guys are wondering, he's the only one with a thing about racial justice, and he wants to demilitarize the police. He wants to get rid of Humvees and special equipment that they don't need. That is leftover equipment that they gave to these departments, which help militarize and make this a problem, where they're creating a barrier between the citizens and us. He wants body cams on every police officer. He's specific. I posted a bunch of things so far, and all the way going back to the 80s, he's talking about racial justice. And he's the only one I see address. I mean, whether you agree or not with him, he's the only one I see so far that has addressed it, and then he's the one that's getting interrupted, which is
right.
kind of confusing to me.
Speaking of that, because you said, Shirley mentioned, black people want something now, people want something done now, and Anthony sends out this link, and you sent out the same link about, Bernie Sanders giving a speech in Seattle, and 2 protesters coming interrupting him, and that pissed me off, because they did not help the notion of Black Lives Matter. You just interrupted and you look like fools.
And, it was specifically an immigration reform speech.
It was so...
So it wasn't
I mean, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, please tweet out the link. Everybody here will tweet out the link, whatever. But that speech, it kind of gave me a soft spot for Bernie only because of the way he handled it. I don't know what other candidate would have been like, yeah, you guys should speak. Because they were so invasive and very blatant about interrupting him. And it was just kind of... disheartening.
I'm only gonna say this. I get what you're saying on that. That it was, it made you upset that they were talking about. But at the same time, people are angry. Like, sure, Bernie Sanders might be the person that's going to talk about that. He's going to change the issues. But at the same time, like, I think about myself. I almost don't even like. At the first glance, you don't want to give him a chance because you're going to be like, you're saying all this shit, and you're going to be just like the person before you, and that's why he's got to like prove himself, I guess.
But no other Democrats even brought it up. No, not even other Democrats brought it up. So like, I mean, people talk about the Republicans. Like, there was a video where I can't remember the reporter on CNN. She interviewed the 2 people that interrupted, and their logic is almost there. Like, their logic was, and they've tried to interrupt Hillary. Hillary has way better security than Bernie Sanders. Let's not. Well, Sanders doesn't take super PAC money, so he has a way. Like, there was a couple photos this week of he flies coach on Southwest.
All right.
He does. If you want to talk about non-jet setting candidate, which is, I think him and Trump are the same. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
The reason people like them are for the same reasons, not politics wise. They trust them, but. So they're like, well, they're not listening on the right, so we're going to go after the people that are that's addressing it, which seems counterproductive. Larry Wilmore went after it hard. Like, you're just turning people away from the cause.
So what he was talking about?
Because it's just,
I don't think so.
I'm not even trying to, because I don't know. I'm not ready
they
to
helped
say
his
who
numbers,
I support
so in a way,
necessarily.
and I mean,
his PR went up.
I don't think so. I mean, I look at it as, I think people that I know and the people that are involved in Black Lives Matter and that, that thought process and that, ideology, they believe in Bernie Sanders. The problem is that you're not just going to give him a pass like, oh, you talking about it, so it's real. I'm going to grill you. I'm going to interrogate you, make sure you talk about what
why
you
are you
do.
grilling the guy who's talking about it?
Because you have to prove yourself. Just because you say something doesn't make it real.
How many times does he say, what do you want him to do? Reiterate the exact same thing again?
What is
I want to feel comfortable with him. I don't know. I just I feel like I wouldn't interrupt him. I wouldn't like do that.
Really
but I think at the same time I'm not going to go easy
but look
on
at
you.
He marched with Dr. King. He marched with Dr. King. He fought for segregation before he ever ran for office. He fought against segregation. I'm sorry, that was wrong. He fought against segregation, where he was like, where he was going, we should we need to desegregate. That's the right. He was giving speeches at town halls back in the day. That's how far he has a 50-year track record. Before politics, he was doing this stuff. So, is that the guy you attack?
So okay.
I'm not even for the attack, so that's just me. I think it was really inappropriate and totally uncalled for. I understand people are angry. Absolutely, they should be angry. The way we are handling it, and that's the second part. When people do things, we have to react in like a more polite way, and it's unfortunate because like we want to react the same way you treated. You gunned down somebody, then I want to riot, but.
Yeah, I get that.
I get it, but it doesn't always work, and I think this was just
okay. I get that, but all you're doing you saw the reaction from multiple Republican friends of mine were like, "What are they doing?" Like when the Republicans are on my side, going, "Why are they interrupting Bernie Sanders like that?" He's the one. I have a couple friends where I can quote their Facebook, and these guys are Tea Party Republicans, going, "Why would they do that?" Like I don't understand. I understand they're upset, and I understand the passion, but I just think I don't know. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe they should just think it through a little more. Like,
I just thought it was uncalled for.
Bernie Sanders is not the right candidate for president of the United States.
Okay, well let's not talk about that.
I would just like to get my thought if I could.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I haven't said
Shirley.
anything, and then when I start to talk, I love how you all come on me, but I can handle any of you. I really can. I can take most of you down. Because I'm that good.
Okay.
When we talk about Bernie, so let's talk about Black Lives Matter regarding Bernie Sanders. Everyone in Black Lives Matter do not support Bernie Sanders.
True.
Just to let you know
Yeah,
I support Black Lives Matter, and I am not a Bernie Sanders supporter. I do not support socialism. That doesn't mean that he's not a nice person or a person that has an agenda. I think each candidate that's running for office right now have an agenda. Judd Bush was recently attacked by his supporters and anti-supporters about not addressing Black Lives Matter, and basically ran him out. And that was Thursday, if anybody was watching that news. So I think that there's a subgenre, a community of people that are just angry. It doesn't matter what party you're with. They're angry. And it's the white elephant in the room. It is the subject matter of the white elephant. If you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, it's an elephant. But as far as the white elephant, it could be black elephant. It's just that elephant. The terminology of white elephant is not based on race. It's just based on an uncomfortable situation of someone in the room or something that's not really wanted to be discussed.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. Bernie Sanders talks about socialism, and I don't support that, but I know that there are people who are, but he does touch the pulse of what America is dealing with, and so people will listen to him. So if all candidates want to be on the forefront, I said on my video on my Facebook page, the GOP don't really want to address it, but they try to, but again, they get attacked as well. Everyone's getting attacked. I don't know what the right answer is.
And
I'm with you on
that's a great point. I don't know what the right answer is. So with that, I was going to ask, what do you guys think they should also be talking about? There's this movement of Black Lives Matter, there's race, there's
illegal immigration.
Is there something else we need to be looking
We talked
for?
about Planned Parenthood.
Okay.
Well,
Selling of body parts.
So before we jump into
Okay.
that, let's stick back on the Black Lives Matter. So Stacey, you recently talked to the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
And he has something to say on Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. I asked him, it was a tough question because I asked him if he went to Ferguson to stir up trouble, and this is what he said.
A couple critics said that you went there and stirred up trouble. How do you combat that information?
I was called by the grandfather the day that Michael Brown was killed, and I went because the family asked me to come. I ended up doing the funeral, and we helped the family, and we helped the rally. And the trouble was Michael Brown was killed, not those that fought for justice.
Okay, so I mean, Al Sharpton is big in the black community. What you love him or you hate him, but he's in there.
Yeah.
So what I mean, if we're not talking about like presidential candidates, Al Sharpton is that face for black people in certain instances. He's been in those movements, like he's been around. I mean, what do we say to someone like that as far as like their involvement in Black Lives Matter and the issues that are going on from this year?
Well, that's why I asked him, because it has been a year anniversary, and we saw what happened on Sunday, and we see how it turned out. It could have been peaceful. I feel like it could have been peaceful, and I don't know exactly what day he got there, Monday or not, but a lot of critics were saying that he went there after a year to start the same type of trouble he did the first time. Now, the first time, I understood exactly why he was there. It was a very passionate and somber and all kinds of emotional, type of, time. So somebody like Reverend Al Sharpton should be there. And even now, I think he should have been there, but I think maybe seeing some of the videos and some of the speeches and some of the chanting and that kind of thing, all of those things are necessary, because you're right, a lot hasn't changed. But I wanted to know from his mouth, did he feel like he was there for the right reasons or the wrong reasons?
So I mean, what are the right reasons or the wrong
I know,
reasons? Because Cornel West was there too, and
Right,
many
and
will
he
argue that he was trying to incite stuff as well. But they're both very passionate about what they're talking about, and I mean, they live this lifestyle of like fighting social injustice.
Yeah.
So I mean, saying what is right and what is wrong, like what are they there for? I mean, that all goes back to, do you think rioting is a necessity of the movement? Like, and as far as that, and
I think it's an inevitability.
And if so,
At
then
this point,
is it? I mean, it's not wrong. I mean, that's kind of the argument that you have to think about when we're talking about.
I definitely don't think you're right or wrong. I don't want to base it on like he was marching and rioting because that I don't have any. I actually think it's closer to right, but it's more of like, you know, you can see when somebody's coming. It's just like when some of the celebrities would come, you know, and they'd be there, and everything they did was on social media, and you would think you're not there for the right reason, versus like you're there, you're incognito, you're with the people, you're just there to like support or whatever, right reason. So I guess I was trying to see, was he there to just fully be of support and help and whatever, or was he there to cause? You know, I don't know.
So touching on that issue, I said this like a while back, but I think what failed, like where Al Sharpton and Cornel West fail at, is that they are leaders, but they don't take that role on as serious as they could. I think one of the big things that this movement, this new movement that's coming up is lacking is like a head leader, like a figurehead that someone's like we're coming to and we're looking at him, and that could just be the dynamic of how our country is now. But I think that right there would change the course of how this is working. People would be a lot more strategic in how they do things as far as like protesting and rioting, and they would make them a lot more powerful than what they are. People are just going willy-nilly and like burning their own houses down. And
that's what happens when you have an uneducated populace. They don't know how,
exactly. You have an uneducated populace, but you need someone to guide them. Even in the civil rights movement, everybody wasn't like keen on knowing everything about what's going on with the black, black population at the time and the unrest. They knew something was wrong and they were upset about it, but they needed someone to guide them in the right direction.
You said this before, and I don't think you're wrong by any means, but I think with where we are now, it'd be so interesting to see how long it takes for people to trust a leader, or how well they receive him, or how much they listen to him. Like, I would be interested to see if people were like, okay, that's the person? All right, we're all gonna... I don't know if I see that.
Regarding Al Sharpton, he's an opportunist. Jesse Jackson is an opportunist. Cornel West is an opportunist. They get a lot of money. They get a lot of donations for their nonprofits. They've done that over the years. There's insight about him working with the FBI. You can do your homework on that one. But I will say this, I don't think black people need a leader. I think that's a white notion that's been implanted into our heads. I think that we are all leaders and that we all need to be responsible.
Yeah, that sounds good.
No, I'm not saying I'm telling you what is needed. If we as a people, especially with technology, we are better, we are stronger, we are more informed. You said it earlier with cameras and everything. But to keep saying, that's the guy to go to, we listen to everything that we say. Black people don't move like that. That was something in the 60s. They don't do like that. And everybody
really
black,
that's
what I'm saying. What your notion is something in the 60s, that's not reality. Reality is that black people today have different groups that have different orientations. We all may stand behind a cause, but we have different approaches to do it.
No, and I agree. And there were different approaches back then, just not like there are different approaches now.
You had Malcolm and
you
Dr.
had Malcolm
King.
and Dr. King. You still have the new Black Panther Party. You have Black Lives Matter. You have different ways of going about this. My thing is that none of those different avenues have people like that are heading them. And you can say
I think those avenues do different things. Like with Urban Game Changers, what we do, we hold elected officials accountable. Yes, we are advocates for Black Lives Matter, but we also say that local officials are failing the community. That's why I said I could address it basically. It's a federal issue now. It's about the people are angry. They are angry at anything and anyone of authority, and they're going to attack them. It doesn't matter what party they're in.
No doubt. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I guess all I'm saying is that everybody here, like in these different avenues and these organizations that are coming up, aren't organized. You're saying we all leaders. That sounds good. I wish we was all leaders, because then it might be, it might go, but that's not how it is. Some people just do stuff because they know that there's a problem. They know it's wrong. They don't know how to handle it except for in their own way, but they're not necessarily a leader. They need I'm not saying
people don't need guidance. I'm not saying that at all.
That's exactly what it is.
No, that's not what I'm not saying that they don't. I know we all need that. But what I'm saying, the antics of how things were back then don't apply today. They just don't. There needs to be another solution.
I think it's just a different...
It's a different energy.
I think the leaders should be elected leaders, and we need to pick better leaders that are going to address and as a No matter which side you were on,
trial and
Malcolm or
error?
King,
I don't know.
no matter which side you're on which was more effective, the effective thing was they moved as a people.
But they moved as a group.
But you
That's what I'm
understand,
saying.
the leaders aren't picked; they are those who act accordingly. When you decide to lead, you lead and people follow.
Yes.
You don't sit back and say, that guy's the leader, we're going to make him great.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
That's not what I'm saying either. What I think what I'm trying to touch on is that they're not moving as a unit. Like, I'm not saying that you need that one leader that's going to take the role and be ahead of it, but you need guidance. Like, for example, you just said, you alluded to, like, you know, you're Black Lives Matter, I'm Black Lives Matter, you know, other people Black Lives Matter, but they're not going the same way. Some people I think it needs to move as a unit to be more powerful.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you need some type of organizational guidance. I'm not saying one specific messiah. I'm just saying you need that somewhere.
But we've seen it. Okay, and this is the problem I have with the, like, we don't need a leader thing, is we get what happened with the Occupy movement, whether you're for or against it, what happened with Occupy and other movements like that. And the whole idea of Occupy was nobody's going to be the leader, and that's exactly what happened. You had no leader.
They were a hot mess.
Yeah, but they were angry.
But they still exist, though. They still exist.
Kind of. And that's the thing is in other areas. Well, and they've found different ways. Up in Madison, Wisconsin, the Occupy movement makes tiny homes for homeless people to try and get people and raise money for that. And they found they're different things, but as an overall movement to overhaul Wall Street and the banks like we should, they didn't do anything.
And that's the thing. I know in Missouri, that was such an interesting time in school because Occupy was going on in Columbia, Missouri. And I did so many stories about it and learning about it. I had another friend leave college. Hey, Nate Anton, he's amazing. He also did Occupy for a while. He's great. He was so passionate about it. And then there was a time that it just kind of fizzled out around me. And I was like, wait, what is it about again? Because no one's really...
I want you guys to put this date on your calendar. October the 10th, 2015, you will see Justice or Else movement grow. And that is, Louis Farrakhan is requiring all African American males who want to be engaged, he says death is sweeter than living. Death is sweeter than living. You can find that on my Facebook page or on my fan page, where he's talking about basically you might want to sacrifice your life to get justice. And that's a very scary thing to hear someone say.
That's really interesting.
But you're going to see that growth of a movement. So you talk about you want to see someone lead.
Not someone. I want to see
leaders.
No, I said leaders. You said you wanted
guidance. I said guidance.
Okay, guidance, leadership. You want one. He's the one that people are listening to because he has been going to churches. He's on Black Talk Radio. I have concerns because of him saying you might want to make yourself a sacrificial lamb because he's telling people to go and kill people.
I'm gonna have to check on that. I did check that out.
I sent you all that email.
I did see you sent it, and I'll have to look at that. But those are very interesting. I want to keep on this, but I just want to move to the next topic because I think it's also very, very important in the aspect of minorities in this country and a growth and a movement and a revolution. And it's a very touchy subject. Before I talk about it, I had put a question out on my Facebook and my Instagram asking about it, and I got very mixed reviews from people that I'm very close with, so it's very interesting. So let me just touch on...
I should get on your Instagram right
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
And Facebook. So basically, what happened is, in the state of California, our home right now, a transgender inmate who was previously male, or is currently male at the moment, but transgender, actually got approved through the California State Penitentiary to get a gender reassignment surgery within jail. This is the money that's paying for this is the taxpayers' money, obviously, through everything else. And how this came about is that there were several psychologists, several doctors that took her case in, I guess, and basically, what's the word I'm looking for? They diagnosed her and said that it was a necessity for her mental stability to get this gender reassignment surgery.
Bradley or Chelsea Manning.
And so this is very interesting. And the reason I said I was talking about my Instagram and Facebook is because a lot of my friends, and like I said, these are close friends, and some of them had different views on it, were basically, some were saying, of course, why not? That only makes sense. We are in the age of the LGBTQ community. expanding, getting bigger, changing for the better in our nation, and that's only part of it. If you are born a certain gender in your body, why are you subject, no matter in jail, out of jail, like why do you have to be subject to be someone that you're not? And that was one argument. The other argument was that, sure, okay, that's great, I see, like, there's transgender, I don't have anything against transgender, but then they're like, why am I paying for this? It doesn't make sense for me, because I feel like that if there's nothing wrong with their genitalia, if they're not like going to die from a issue involving that, why are they getting gender reassignment surgery to help their mental stability? Why couldn't they do like other inmates and medicate how they do other inmates? I mean, we're still paying for that, but they're on the fence about it, I guess, and I think that comes more from the whole thing about the equality of the LGBT community. So what do we feel about that? I mean, because it's very interesting. Because I'm not gonna lie, I feel. I don't know what to think.
It's
I had
so touched. Go ahead.
I reached out to a transgender friend of mine about this.
Okay.
Because I was like, okay, because I understand like I don't want to pay for this unnecessary. But first of all, there are some people in jails, and the reason they're trying to force this is because they're stuck in the guys, as in another article, where they're getting harassed and bullied by the men and the guards on that side, and they won't let them over there, even though they identify as female, even though they're being completely, sexually molested in some cases and raped, assaulted on a daily basis. And so it's for some of these people, it's an extreme measure to be like, fine, then I'll get the gender reassignment surgery. So now what are you going to say when I say, can I please go to the female side so I'm not assaulted every day? That's some people. I'm just putting that out there as a thing. And I mean, I'm a little lost on this one.
Honestly,
you know what I mean? Because I want to help. I want people to be who they are. I kind of want to know why they're in jail.
Well, like this particular person is life in prison for murder and kidnapping
and robbery.
I don't want to pay for that.
So then that's what some of my friends are saying is like, so we're paying for a surgery for a murderer, a kidnapper, and a robber, and that's okay for everybody else.
Now, if a transgender's in there for prostitution or owning some marijuana, I don't really care that much.
But then there's got to be in order to be this subjective, there's got to be a precedent that's like a little bit more clear, because right now there's not really one, and that's why this was such an interesting thing to read. Like, I was reading this, calling mom, calling dad, calling friends, and like, what do you guys think about this? It was, I've always been I guess on the fence about this, because yes, I do want people to feel like they can be themselves, and it is a hard thing. You don't want to see people in prison and think, oh, they're just nobody, they shouldn't get whatever. I don't ever want to think about it like that. But I think it is interesting that, for one, her surgery is going to cost anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000. Right. That's a lot of money. Okay, that's one. And then two, from what I was reading, it says that California has about 400 transgender people right now in the prison system. And let's just say every single one of them decided, I want the surgery, I want this, and I want that. How do we? Is it possible to say yes to everybody? And then
400.
Is that a low number?
I mean, no. I mean,
it's too low.
No, I just think. I mean, that's possible. It's not. And let's be clear too. Not every transgender person wants to switch genitalia. Yes. So we're talking about two separate issues, which is where people get confused as well. Where they're equating transgender is every transgender person who was a male wants to.
Well, that's why I said let's assume
the hormones
that
and stuff.
This is what they But I guess my thing is like, in a prison, it's hard because there was another case I read about that it was a rapist, actually, a male rapist who was switching over to be a woman and wanted to be in the female prison, and I just couldn't wrap my head around that. I literally cannot wrap my head around that. It's like, okay, yes, you want to switch and you identify as a woman and whatever, but if you don't switch your genitalia or whatever, you're a male, in my opinion, and then you come into my prison and we're just supposed to like act like this is going to be like perfect. It's a scary thing. If you identify as that, you identify, and that's great. But then what for everybody else?
My issue is like there are so many people that have lived their lives in the straight and narrow as far as that.
That's my point.
And where is the funding for them if they want something like that? Like, where is their funding if they can't afford it? Who's paying for their reassignment surgeries? Who's paying for their hormone supplements? Like, who's doing that? But we're cashing out 25 G's on somebody that's in prison and like for a violent crime, like a real violent crime. Like, how can you justify that?
And that's
as a state of California too. I'm just like, this is crazy.
Because the elected officials are idiots. I don't care the fact that he want to become a woman. I don't give a crap.
Okay.
You're in prison for what you did wrong. You're going to have to serve your time and work with your own mind. My name is LaQuisha. I got a double A. I want to be double N. Why does he get to be a woman? I want to be more of a woman. I got rights. So you going to give LaQuisha bigger titties?
Okay.
Because he gets the ad, because he wants to change his sex. My name is Shaquana. I don't want to be a woman. I'm a straight out dyke.
Yeah, who are these
I
names
want
is
to be
coming
able
out?
to play with Shaquina, and I want her breasts bigger, and I want mine cut off.
So
where is? No, let me finish my thought. I ain't cut you off. Because the point I'm making to you is there's no common sense in what y'all arguing.
But what you're saying, though, what you're touching on is different from the fact that's what's happening.
Different?
Because
it's not different. That's a woman in prison.
Breast implants are different
no,
than
it's not.
gender.
It's an operation. It's an operation.
But
is it not an operation?
Slippery slope.
What they're saying is that
LaQuita, get your titties, girl. Let me tell you.
No,
if this man can become a woman, the gay
though.
women are the women in prison who want to just bankrupt the state of California. Everybody asks for plastic surgery and whatever you want, because all this is plastic surgery. What someone said they got issues. If LaQuita got a mind issue and she want bigger breasts, go for them.
So you're saying that that's on the same. Like, that's on the same playing field as far as like.
I'm saying what I just said.
Well, no,
you
let's
got
say
a woman in
She
prison,
brings
got a
up
man
the gray
in prison.
issue. She brings up the gray issue of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like. Some of it was a slippery slope, but some of it goes back to what you're saying. Like, so we're gonna finance someone who is in prison for murder,
but we're not
gonna do it for people who are law-abiding citizens.
No, LaQuisha murdered too, but she just want bigger titties. She says that it makes her feel better if her breasts are impressed.
But who is that though? And I don't like her name.
Well, I like her name. That's because she ain't from LA. LaQuita. I like LaQuita. Okay, because the bottom line is she's in prison for murder. He's in prison for murder. They all need surgery. Just bankrupt the state. I mean, you can't be biased on one side and not biased on the other.
No, I see what you mean in terms of the gray area. I don't know, because like with what you're saying, Shirley, I just see it as, okay, you're bringing up a point in terms of there's really no precedent to me. There's just no way to like analyze every single. It's a case by case.
So just give everybody money. You can have big titties. You can have parts added on. Get yourself extended. Whatever you want to do. If he gets rights, she gets rights. What makes her more prevalent than her?
Well, in this case, they're saying you said the word necessity. They said it was
she
something
got
that was
identification issues too.
Well, see, I don't know.
Other girls in prison got smaller titties when they take showers. She wants big ones.
And the problem with this, I think the problem with this issue, as far as this goes, is that is it's a lack of knowledge. I think a lot of people.
It's a state going broke over bull crap. That's what this is about. It's about money going against prisoners. They already drug these poor people. They do so many things to keep them incarcerated. Now they're going to start personally addressing their personal psychological issues. You can't just do one versus another. Get that girl her titties. And watch the state go broke.
Hey, Shirley, I ain't even going to disagree with you. That's a very interesting opinion on that. I can't even say or nay with that.
The pharmaceutical industry in the prisons and the private prisons.
Let's jump to another part of that
100%.
section. This is a little bit less controversial, but still controversial in the sense that it's happening in the United States, is that the Pentagon and the Department of Defense is actually doing some studies to decide whether they're going to lift the ban on allowing openly transgender males and females able to serve in the military. This is an issue among, I think, not necessarily, these people are doing good and they just want to serve their country. Mm-hmm. Now, what is the issue with that? Why is this a ban that should have been lifted way long ago? Mm-hmm. Is this something that needs to be discussed? Playing devil's advocate, is this going to cause issues within?
And that's what I was going to say. I think
that's what they said with women being in the
I wasn't saying
military,
it. I was just saying that I think it's. I want to see.
confined.
I'm interested to see how they come up with the studies or how they decide to lift the ban or not lift the ban, because in that article they were saying a lot. The way they're going to analyze it is, let's see the dynamic of soldiers right now, or let's see how they work with different people, or is this going to change whatever relationships, and is it going to cause whatever drama or whatever the
Every
words they use.
soldier I talk to, I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
Every single one I talk to goes, I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your sexuality is. When we're in a foxhole, I want to know if you're a good shot and if you can keep up the rear so that we can get out of this alive.
There's foxholes
I
know.
But every single, I have yet to meet a soldier. My cousin, who is Republican, no, he's not even Republican. He's Libertarian, Tea Party, and he's on gay issues. He's against gay marriage, and he goes, I don't care if you're willing to fight for our military. I welcome you next to me as long as you meet the requirements that keep everyone safe.
And and that's kind of how. Well, I was just going to say before Shirley, I was just going to say I definitely agree with that. I think it's not a matter. It's going to cause issues.
I'm not fighting. I'll say that too.
That's bullshit, because at the same time you think about, like, if we're talking about African Americans back in the day, like, oh, if an African American comes in here, they're going to cause issues. So I mean, I wouldn't mind, but it's going to cause some problems with the whole thing going right. That's terrible. That's a terrible way to look at it. And I think if someone wants to get out there and fight for this country, you go ahead, because I don't care what you are, who you like, color, race, gender, whatever. I ain't gonna do it. So go ahead, be my guest. Like, that's how I feel about it. So
Same here.
I mean, that's pretty my take. What's your take, Shirley?
It ain't gonna happen.
You don't think it's gonna
Well,
happen?
absolutely not. It didn't happen under the Clinton administration. They went in there trying to insist their laws or new methods of the gay movement back then and versus now. Government and the military have its own legal arguments on issues. And when it comes to the military, when it comes to terrorist attack, our federal government can't even intervene. It's a whole nother government, a whole nother branch of approaching this matter. So in knowing that, they are no joke when it comes to defense in this country. And President Obama's just trying to push his plight because he's got so many days numbered. He's wasting time. He should be focusing on Black Lives Matter. He went to Kenya trying to push this. Now he's still trying to insist it on the other armed forces. Air Force, Marine, Navy, none of these people are going to accept this.
So what do you say about the don't ask, don't tell? Like, I mean, as far as like...
They got rid of that. You can be openly gay and nothing
That's
happened.
what I'm saying. Like, you're saying this isn't going to happen, but they lifted don't ask, don't tell, and no one ever thought that was going to happen.
If you are a male or a female that want to change your gender, you got to remember, you're Borg when it comes to being in the military. Everybody looks the same. Everyone has to take the responsibility the same. It is not based on your sexual orientation or preference. Mm-hmm. So in saying that, you just need to do your job. Now, are they gays in the military? Absolutely. Are they transgenders? Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
But they don't coincide with the government versus their own military structure of law.
Yeah, but the difference now between transgender and gay is you can be gay and be in the military now.
You're not going to be a man walking around.
But if you're openly transgender, you're going to get discharged, and that's the discussion now, is if that should be lifted. If you're openly transgender and you talk about, like, as long as you don't say nothing, then obviously they're going to do it.
You're not going to see a bunch of men walking around with lipstick. In the military.
Yes, you will.
Because women can't walk around with a whole bunch of red lipstick.
But I also think it's
interesting.
There's a transgender Navy SEAL.
Okay, but that's also a stereotype. Not just because you're transgender, not mean you're going to be wearing lipstick.
Transgender Navy. He's retired transgender Navy SEAL. Let's make this clear.
But just because you're transgender doesn't mean you're going to be serving the country with long eyelashes and lipstick and trying to walk a certain way. I think that's a stereotype.
No total stereotype.
No one's gonna do that. That's ridiculous, and I think that's why people are getting mixed up, because
regular women can't walk around with makeup in the
Exactly. So
military.
they're saying.
They're thinking. You said so what?
That's what I just said. I said women can't walk around with.
That's what I'm saying. That's not going to happen.
Reiterating
That's not going to happen with transgender people. I think people are thinking like, oh,
This is
you
what
start
it means.
opening it up to transgender, then they're going to be marching with lipstick and eyelashes and twisting and all this. Like, no,
They're thinking they're going to
always
turn the
been-
military into a giant gay club or something.
Yeah, that's
Right.
ridiculous.
EDM
That's so
music, which
stupid.
makes no sense.
People are seeing it in another way, because you're right. There is a, I don't know what the right word is. There's a outlook on the military right now, and they're stoic men and strong and whatever, and they look a certain way and act a certain way. But you're right. It's a stereotype. We don't really know all the guys or all the women serving. We don't know how they.
that just passed the Ranger test, and they're trying to deal with that. So we're transgendered guys. We still don't have women.
Like this is a lot. Like so that is so interesting.
It's a different.
They passed the test. The military has always said, if a woman can pass this test, they will be allowed to be a Ranger. And then they pass it, and then they go,
whoa.
Oh, wait a second. Maybe we can't. And they're using the same arguments they used before women were allowed in the military to serve.
And that is just I think the history and the mindset of our nation that we're in now. So, I mean.
It doesn't, it's not that crazy, though. I think we're just,
it's not crazy
learning.
to us.
No, I think it's just in
To
terms
them,
of the
I
country.
think it's crazy.
No, I don't even. I don't know if it's crazy. I don't know
I
if
think
it's
it's crazy.
crazy.
I'm gonna say why I think it's crazy. He said to us, "I'm not part of the us."
I don't
believe
know
that we
if
don't
I'm
have
part of
parties.
anything yet because I'm still up and down about the bathroom. Sometimes that's my thing. Because I remember in college,
yeah, that's ugly too. The transgender bathrooms they got approved in California for kindergarten children.
Nope.
I didn't know that happened.
Oh yeah, it happened.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I was like, what?
They've been trying to implement it. They've been trying to get this thing passed. This goes back to May 2012. I wrote an article on this one.
I haven't heard that.
So
but
even on that, I just think, like I said, it's an ideal. Certain people think a certain way, and I mean, at one point in time, we're going to have to be open-minded about a lot of things that are happening, and just kind of look at it at a logical sense more than a belief system.
So you rather take the space of your mind to focus on someone's sexual preference. You rather take the space of your mind.
And that's
no. I'm just saying. There's only so much I'm going to give you.
No, but
as beautiful and as brilliant as I am, I'm not going to give you
Shirley,
energy
that's
on that.
the point I'm making. I am not trying to use a space of mind to look at a sexual orientation or what. That's my point. I don't think that we constantly have to look at certain things like that in certain aspects of this country if we're going to make a difference. That's the whole reason black people are being oppressed right now is because we're looked at in a certain way. We're looked at in a certain light.
Interesting.
It sounds good not to say I don't want to look at you as black, but you can't help but do it. But at the same time, where do we start that change? And I think this is a part of a change, not for necessarily black people, but for a different minority group. And I think we need to embrace it. And that's how I feel about it.
Well, and the bathrooms came about because transgender kids were getting beat up so much in the gender bathrooms that teachers made them go into, then the boys would, assault them even worse. No, so it's not like they did the transgendered bathroom because everyone was getting along and they said we want our own bathrooms. It was a thing that was brought up because of the assault.
No, I know, and I think I was cut off before I finished, so I wasn't saying that was an issue. Actually, that was the part that I understood. It was I watched the episode of Law and Order, and there was a situation, and this is when I got really passionate about it, you guys, seriously, because there was a woman who identified as a man who identified as a woman, and she was trying to, but she hadn't finished her surgery, and she was trying to use the bathroom, and there was this whole deal, and I'd never seen it like that. I'd literally never seen this in my life, and this was like sophomore year of college. I'm watching this episode, and it's around me, and it was just a really good teaching moment to see, and I was trying to figure out what I thought then, and I don't know, it's gone up and down because it's something that. At this point in life, we keep saying it on this panel that somebody's sexuality doesn't affect me, but that's a lie because as we've seen today, somebody's surgery affects our pockets, or somebody's this affects our bathroom use. I mean, that's just the name of the game. So it's kind of something that I don't want to say like consider everybody when you're making decisions. I don't ever want to say that, but be okay if people. Is it not support you or aren't okay with it? I don't know how to say that, but you know what I mean.
See what you're saying.
You see what I don't know. It's just it's a slippery slope, I guess.
Okay, it's very interesting. I think these are conversations that are going to again develop more and get more intricate as the year goes on, and with the presidential race going on, these are a lot of things I think they're going to come up in discussion. So jumping into the presidential race, we talked a lot about the Republican Party due to the debate that was 2 weeks ago or so. So what's going on now? I know Hillary's having some issues as far as
her emails.
Get over
She's
having polls.
I'm like.
She's having like problems with her.
No, they're not gonna get over. Yeah, but they're not gonna get over that.
So my thing is like,
she acts around like she's entitled. She's rude.
So what do we think about Hillary? We haven't talked about her a lot.
I think this is where I said earlier, Trump and Bernie are in the same realm, and they're in the same realm as the reason they're getting so much support and they're getting more and more support by people is because people are sick of Hillary and Jeb Bush and these institutional people that are pro-corporate, won't give answers. That's where I'm saying Trump and him are the same. I'm not saying, like, policy-wise they're very different, but I gotta even say, what Trump says he believes.
Yeah.
And he's saying what he
That's
thinks.
real.
And right, wrong, or indifferent. Same with Bernie Sanders. And I think those are the changes we're seeing and why we're seeing, people are like, why are they so popular? I'm like, because we haven't seen an honest politician in 20 years. And Hillary's not. You ask her about the Keystone Pipeline. She goes, oh, if that's still an issue when I'm president, I'll tell you. You're, what? You should have an opinion and we should know what that is because that might weigh into our opinion. And you're seeing the same dodges from Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, who's the one guy on the Republican side. I'll give it to Rand Paul too. He's opening his mouth too. Him and Trump and Bernie Sanders are the only three people I see in the entire election at least saying what's on their mind, being honest, not dodging questions.
So, talking about Donald Trump, wrapping it up, you recently talked to Omarosa that was on The Apprentice,
Yeah.
and she had something to say about Donald Trump. So let's see how her views of him go.
On Donald?
Yes.
Donald is a wonderful friend. It's fascinating to watch him dominate every cover of every newspaper, every magazine, every news outlet. He's that type of personality that demands attention, so it's very fascinating to watch him.
There's a pool of people that say he's kind of taking it for a joke, or he's acting like a joke, or he's not taking it seriously. Would you combat that, or do you agree, or how do you feel?
I think he's very serious. I think people who say that know nothing about politics. No one comes into a presidential race and submit their financials when they're a billionaire if they're not very serious.
And you did an
We can cut
amazing
it off
interview,
there.
I think, with Bethany, right?
When she said people who, it was just so interesting to talk to her because she was very pro Donald, and I asked somebody about it later, and they said that it's because she's a suck up. Now I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know the relationship, whatever. But it was just interesting to have her defend him and talk about saying that people who think he's just kidding don't know anything about politics. I was like, that's very interesting. So I don't know. Now you guys have seen it. You guys can tell me what you guys
I
think.
just want to start like a bet to see when he drops out of the race, because I think he's going to drop
It's going
out.
to be about the same time as
So, I mean,
Bernie Sanders.
so to close
And
off,
I'm a huge Bernie fan. They're not going to win the nominations.
yes.
Trump won't get the support from Fox News now, and they built him, and now they don't want him to win, which makes no sense. He's got every platform they want. So anyway, besides that, but that's the thing is like eventually the system's going to win. It's going to be Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush, in my opinion.
And Shirley, final words for you?
Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
You think it's going to be Biden?
Okay, I actually,
Okay.
I don't agree with Trump, but Biden,
I can definitely
yeah.
see Biden being actually up there.
I
That's
gotta keep it
interesting.
real. How did we come to know Omarosa? How did we come to know her?
Right.
Donald Trump.
I mean, Donald Trump.
That's it. Why would you speak against the hand that feeds you?
All right.
That is not
Stacey,
a wrong
final
point at
words
all.
on political presidential race?
I don't know. I feel like I don't want to go with what Mike said because I kind of feel like he's right, but that would make me sad if you think it's just a systematic thing and they're just going to win. Like before, I thought Hillary was yes, and now that I'm learning a lot about other people, I'm like, okay, so I don't know. Give me 2 more weeks.
All right.
Give me 2 more
Well,
weeks.
I will give you a week. And
Fine.
next week, we're tuning in to Black Hollywood's Live, Black Tea Party. We're going to talk a lot more about the presidential race and some issues that come up in this next week. Stay tuned. My name's Anthony Martin. You can follow me at Blackfist Activist. Stacey?
You guys can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at OneTakeStace, and I'm also here doing AfterBuzz on Wednesday nights doing Suits.
Shirley Husar, Husar. You can find me at UrbanGameChangerStory.com and ShirleyHusar.com. Make sure you Twitter, follow me. I challenge you online.
Michael Timon as spelled underneath me because otherwise you're not going to get it. I have a show Wednesday at Cork's Lounge in Van Nuys,
Cork's, okay.
and then MichaelTimon.com and at Michael Timon or on Twitter and at Michael J. Timon on Instagram.
All right. Thank everybody for tuning in. Check us out next Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Black Tea Party.
You.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.